So fellas, there we have it, the final card of 2025 and the final pay-per-view ever with UFC 323. And I always said about this card, I feel like if you're a casual fan and you like the big stars, you might not like this card because there aren't too many like big stars on this card. But if you're a fan of fights, I think this is a sick card in terms of fights. If I'm going to rate the card, I'm going to give this card a 7 out of 10. I'd say it's, I'd say it's above average for a pay-per-view, but again, might not have the star power, but as far as fights go, especially the prelims, there's so many fucking banger fights in this card. One of the most intriguing flyweight title fights we've ever had in Pantoja Van. Rematch with Merab in his 4th defense this year. Talbot Cejudo. This is a solid card, man. So we're going to be going through every fight, predicting every fight with my own personal predictions. And we'll start off with Mohammad Naimov versus Marion Santos. I think this is at 145. Now, the style of Naimov, he's a fast kickboxer with decent power who likes implementing the grappling, but he's not really dangerous on the ground. Yeah, we saw him against Bogdan Grad where he implemented the grappling, and against Nathaniel Wood. He's got decent fight IQ. He likes to grapple against strikers and strike against grapplers, but he's not really dangerous anywhere. I mean, he's got decent KO power. He's not really too dangerous on the ground, though. I mean, he got submitted by Felipe Lima. And he's also quite foul. I remember that fight with Nathaniel Wood. He fouled him so many times in that fight. So he's a very foul-y type of fighter as Mohammad Naimov. Marion Santos, really good defense. He's kind of sniper-type striker. He's almost like an Anderson Silva-esque. I know people are going to be crying saying I'm comparing this guy to Silva. Obviously, he's not as good, but he kind of reminds me a bit of Anderson Silva in the sense that he's quite hard to hit. And he's a bit of a sniper, but he is quite low volume on the feet. He's Marion Santos. I would like it if he kind of threw a lot more shots. I'm going to go with Marion Santos to win this one by decision. I think Marion Santos is kind of one of the better, I don't want to call him a prospect just because he's 16-1 and he's undefeated in the UFC, but he's definitely on a decent rise in the UFC. I mean, we saw him against Sadiq Youssef, and Sadiq Youssef is a decent name, and he beat Sadiq Youssef pretty convincingly at 155, and I do rate the striking of Marion Santos. He's got some decent pop in his shots, very sniper kind of esque, hard to hit, good accuracy. And I don't know if I'm rating Mohammad Naimov that much. I mean, I thought he should have lost that fight to Nathaniel Wood. I thought he was losing that fight to Nathaniel Wood with the amount of fouls he had. He got submitted by Felipe Lima. He's not really beating anybody good outside of that kind of dodgy win of a Nathaniel Wood. So I'm going to go Marion Santos. I think the fight stays standing, and he kind of just picks apart Mohammad Naimov. He's faced better strikers than Naimov. He faced, what's his name? The guy who just beat Sadiq Youssef, who's a better striker than Mohammad Naimov. I don't think Santos is going to struggle too much on the ground. We saw him against Francis Marshall, who trains with Grant Dawson. He beat Francis Marshall too. So I think Marion Santos should get the job done. 16-1, looks promising, solid striker. I don't really rate Mohammad Naimov too much. I think he's going to be kind of one of these guys who is good enough to stay in the UFC, but never good enough to hit the top 15. So I'm going to go Marion Santos by decision, keeps the fight standing, picks him apart, and gets the job done. Then we've got Ibo versus Iwo. Ibo Aslan versus Iwo Baraniewski. Now, Ibo Aslan, I used to call him the light heavyweight Sergey Pavlovich, but I feel like he's kind of got rid of that status now. He's like a heavy-handed, brawly boxer, likes brawling, and he wants to overwhelm you with his boxing. You know, just get you in and kind of get you against the cage, overwhelm you with his boxing, throw continuous punches. And he seems to have a really bad grappling or fear of the takedowns. He got easily taken down and submitted by Ian Cutelaba, and he fought so hesitantly against Billy Elakena when they fought. So he seems to have some sort of fear of grappling. Baraniewski, he seems like a pretty powerful dude. I mean, he's got a 100% finishing rate, but he's untested. He's finished everybody he's fought. I think he's got 3 KOs, 4 submissions, so he seems to be a pretty dangerous dude. But again, he's not really fought anybody good, so it's kind of hard to see how he's going to, how good he's going to look. I think he trains with Jan Blachowicz as well. I'm going to go with Baraniewski by TKO in the first round. I really feel like Ibo Aslan has fallen off massively. Like, this dude has done a massive disservice to Turkey, and he's just fallen off. I mean, like I said, he's taking Baraniewski, who seems to be a decent prospect. 2 wins by submission, 4 by KO. He just got like a 20-second KO on the Contender Series as well. He's pretty accurate with his hands, and he looks like a pretty dangerous, promising dude, and I just can't really rate Ibo Aslan after his last couple of fights. He sucks, I'm going to be honest. I mean, he fought Billy Elakena, who was a pretty easy guy to beat, and he looked terrible against him. He got outstruck. He fought Ian Cutelaba, got easily taken down, and you look at all of his wins as well. Rafael Sequeira, he's 0-4 in the UFC, and Ante Tukaj beat him on the regional scene, and he's not even in the UFC anymore, so he's not even beating anybody good. So it's a hard kind of fight to pick. We've never seen Baraniewski in the UFC, but I'm going to trust he gets through it. I'm going to go with Iwo Baraniewski to get the job done. He's with Jan Blachowicz, he's a dangerous dude. He just knocks somebody out in 20 seconds. Seems to be a sharper striker than Ibo Aslan, so I think he's going to get the TKO in the first. Aslan does have kind of like a hittable style as well. He doesn't really have the best defense, and I feel like you time that with a guy like Baraniewski. Not going to go too well with Ibo Aslan. I think Baraniewski clips him, finishes him in the first round, and probably sends Ibo Aslan out of the UFC. And then we've got Barboza versus Jalin Turner. Now, I'm glad Jalin Turner is back. I remember he retired early this year, and I remember doing a video after UFC 313 saying, I'm disappointed that he retired, man. This guy's still got so much potential. I'm glad he's back. I kept saying for him to come back, and he's finally got a fight booked. Edson Barboza, still at 155. And the style of Barboza, he's historically been one of the best kickboxers in UFC history. You look at every kickboxing kind of highlight reel in the UFC, you'll have Edson Barboza in there. And he has had some of the best kicks in UFC history. His leg kicks, his spinning wheel kicks, great kicker. But he's definitely past his prime. He should have retired a long time ago. He's getting worse with every fight. His reflexes aren't the same. And he's, I think he's been in the UFC since 2010. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He's past his prime, more of a veteran. Jalin Turner, tall, lanky behemoth for 155. He is massive for lightweight, and he's hits very, very hard, powerful dude, and he's dangerous everywhere the fight goes. And I think he could genuinely be a top 10 fighter, which is why I was so disappointed when he retired. But I think the problem with Jalin Turner is his mindset. He has this thing where it seems like he's hesitant to hurt people. I remember after he fought Dan Hooker, he kept saying how he felt bad because Dan Hooker's in hospital, and you could see when he dropped Renato Moicano, we didn't want to go for the kill. So I feel like the problem with Jalin Turner is his mindset and his fight IQ. But as far as danger goes, I still feel like Jalin Turner can be top 10 worthy at 155. And I'm going to go with Jalin Turner to finish Edson Barboza in the first round. I mean, this just seems like a pretty bad matchup for Barboza. We've got a coming back Jalin Turner, who only retired in March. He's back already, but he seems to be in a better headspace to Jalin Turner. But yeah, Edson Barboza's too old for this shit, man. He's 39 years old. He took a beating from Lerone Murphy. He lost to fucking Trocoli close. He's just too old for this shit, man. And like I said, I think Jalin Turner might top 3 be most dangerous lightweights on a good day. This dude, I don't think people understand the hype that the Tarantula had. When Jalin Turner was a legit prospect to 155, people were talking about this guy as if he's going to be a future champion at 155. I mean, the guy would have knocked out Dan Hooker had Dan Hooker not had as good as a chin as he does. He blasted Dan Hooker in their fight. He could have got the finish over Renato Moicano had he gone for the finish too. This dude is dangerous as fuck, man. He's got powerful striking, decent accuracy, good submission ability as well. I think if the Tarantula comes back, that it was back in like 2022, 2023, he should have a field day against Edson Barboza. He seems to be in a better headspace now. And to be fair to Jalin Turner, he's not losing to bums. Bahamondes, top 15. Moicano, Hooker, Gamrot, all top 15 guys. And let's not forget how he brutalized Bobby Green as well. So I'm going to go with Jalin Turner by TKO in the first round. Unless Jalin Turner is completely washed, which I don't think he is because he's only like 30 years old. He should get this one done, so I think Turner's going to come back, better headspace. He knows he needs to get this one done, and I just don't really trust a 39-year-old Edson Barboza against one of the most dangerous dudes unranked at 155. I think Jalin Turner clips him, gets the job done. I'm going to go with Jalin Turner by TKO in the first round, and I'm excited to see this kind of new version of Jalin Turner. I hope he's in the right mind space because on a good day, Jalin Turner is genuinely one of the most dangerous dudes at 155. So I'm going to go Turner to get the TKO in the first. Yeah, it's not a good look for Barboza. Moving up a weight class, getting destroyed by Trocoli, and then also being 39 years old. Not a great look. I think Jalin Turner clips him, starts him, and gets the TKO in the first round. And hopefully, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but hopefully sends Edson Barboza into retirement because he needs to retire. If anybody should have retired in this fight, it should have been Barboza. You've got the guy who retired too early versus the guy who hasn't retired early enough. So Jalin Turner, TKO in the first round. Then we've got Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. Now, Marvin Vettori is a well-rounded blockhead who swings and acts like a punching bag the entire fight. Yeah, Vettori's kind of a punching bag in the UFC. I mean, he swings, he's got a really good chin, obviously. But he is a bit of a punching bag nowadays. He just walks forward, swings, and takes a beating. But he historically has one of the greatest chins in UFC history. He's never been knocked out, never been dropped, and he's still extremely average. The thing that's holding Vettori up is his chin. You know what's kind of a crazy thing to think about? The fact that Vettori fought for a belt in 2021. This guy fought for a UFC title in 2021, which just shows the state of the middleweight division back then. Bruno Ferreira, one of the hardest hitters unranked in the middleweight division. Super explosive, super powerful. And he seems to have worked in his submission game as well. I mean, he's got 2 submissions in his last 2 fights. Seems to be a bit more well-rounded. But he's obsessed with the spinning elbow. I remember that fight with Abbas Magomedov. He was on track to winning that fight with Abbas Magomedov. And he ended up spamming the spinning elbow, which actually put himself in a bad position. He got submitted. So the fight IQ might be on a bit of a questionable thing for Bruno Ferreira. But listen, this is weird because you've got the best chin versus incredible power. In terms of who I'm going to go to win this fight, I think Bruno Ferreira is going to crack the chin of Marvin Vettori. That's right. Every great chin must get cracked. From the likes of Tony Ferguson to Jorge Masvidal to Max Holloway, I feel like Marvin Vettori is the next guy in line. I think every great chin must be cracked. And I feel like Vettori's been taking a beating in his last couple of fights. He got battered and bludgeoned by Jared Cannonier. Fucking Roman Dolittle was outlanding him. Even Brendan Allen was picking him apart when they fight earlier on this year. And now he's taking on this short, stocky, powerful, explosive dude who's finishing everybody. I don't think he's ever gone the distance in his entire career with insane power. I know Marvin Vettori's got the best chin in the UFC right now, but everybody has a good chin until they don't. And I feel like the amount of damage that Vettori's taken in the past couple of years, and the fact that he's taken on a guy as dangerous as Ferreira, who's not only just dangerous on the feet, but dangerous everywhere, I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira to knock out Marvin Vettori. I think we're going to see Marvin Vettori's chin get cracked. And I think Bruno Ferreira is going to be the guy type to do it. If anybody's going to crack the chin of Vettori at any point in his career, it would make sense for it to be now. I think Bruno Ferreira is going to knock him out. Vettori's very hittable. Not got good defense, not really got good offense either. And I think as long as Ferreira has a good time finding that chin, which he will, and he lands a big fucking Brazilian overhand right, I can see him knocking out Marvin Vettori. I'm going to go with Ferreira by KO. I think Marvin Vettori's chin's going to be cracked. And even if, let's say, Vettori's chin is genuinely golden and it holds up, I think it's going to be the same thing. Vettori taking a beating. I mean, the guy got outstruck by Dolittle and Allen, two grapplers, and you put him in against this behemoth of a striker in Bruno Ferreira. Either way, I don't like Vettori's odds in this fight. He needs to win it. I don't think he will. His career's going on a downslide. I think Bruno Ferreira's going to win, and I'm going to take a bit of a gamble and say he knocks out and cracks the chin of Marvin Vettori. And then we've got Mansur Malik versus Antonio Trocoli. Now, the style of Mansur Malik, very kind of wild, swingy style on the feet. He's always looking for the knockout, swinging for the fences, looking for the KO. And he's very explosive, and he has nasty ground and pound. That's one thing I highlighted about Mansur Malik, especially on the Contender Series and on the regional scene. He has nasty ground and pound. When he gets the fight to the ground, his ground and pound is nasty. Antonio Trocoli, I mean, fair play for dating Mackenzie Dern, but he's essentially a punching bag. He's tall, powerful, not really good anywhere the fight goes. Bit of a punching bag in the middleweight division. I'm going to go with Mansur Malik by TKO in the first round. This probably seems like, I wouldn't be surprised if Abdul Malik's the biggest betting favourite on the card. Yeah, this just is a fight to kind of continue building Abdul Malik. He's a demolition machine, and I think, yeah, you put him against a human punch bag in Antonio Trocoli, it's not going to go well. Yeah, he's very explosive, very powerful dude, is Mansur Abdul Malik. He trains with the likes of Sean Strickland, seems to be promising so far. Nasty ground and pound, heavy-handed on the feet, very, very dangerous dude. I think he's finished everybody he's fought. So I think, yeah, Abdul Malik should be able to get this one done. And he's going against Trocoli, who's been demolished and basically treated as a punching bag against Shar Magomedov and got finished by Trezzy Ngore, who is a can. So, yeah, Mansur Abdul Malik, again, it seems like one of them fights where it's like the UFC trying to build Mansur Abdul Malik into a bit of a prospect. They've given him another can on a pay-per-view to let him shut down, get Trocoli outside the UFC, get another highlight reel for Mansur Abdul Malik. So, yeah, Abdul Malik is going to TKO him on the first, backs him up against the cage, lands a massive shot, knocks him out. I think Abdul Malik gets the job done by KO. It wouldn't surprise me if he's able to catch the neck of Antonio Trocoli too. With how easy Trezzy Ngore got the submission over Trocoli, it wouldn't surprise me if Mansur Abdul Malik can like find the neck of Antonio Trocoli and submit him too. But either way, Abdul Malik's winning. It doesn't take much breakdown. Abdul Malik, TKO in the first round, gets the job done. Then we've got Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Two guys with pretty much opposite styles. You've got a lay and pray American wrestler versus a dangerous striker in Manuel Torres. The style of Grant Dawson, he's a solid wrestler, but he's a bit of a control wrestler. He's really boring on the ground. He's kind of got this kind of, you know, smother, kind of basically a crotch sniffing style with lay and pray, but he usually finds finishes. I've got to give credit to Grant Dawson. He does usually find finishes. 23-2 is a record. He's good. He's got a lot of finishes too, but his style is pretty boring overall. And on the feet, he's just a very bland striker, pretty one-dimensional. You know what he's going to do, take you down and try and take you to a decision. Now, Manuel Torres, he's super dangerous. He's huge for 155. He's massive for the division. He looks like he could be a welterweight, and he evidently has a lot of power. You can see that with the amount of finishes he's got. Very heavy-handed guy. He comes to throw down every single fight. He's not the best defensively, but his power makes up for it. He's got a lot of finishes, man. He knocked out Nicholas Mortar, cracked the chin of Crimson Trin Drew Dober. He's only really lost recently to Bahamondes too, so he's a very dangerous dude, is Manuel Torres. I'm going to go with Torres by TKO in the second round. This is one of those risky picks. I think Grant Dawson might be the betting favourite, and for good reason, but I kind of trust Manuel Torres to find the chin at some point of Grant Dawson and get the TKO in the second round. I mean, we're talking about a guy who cracked the chin of Drew Dober and a guy who got knocked out by Bobby Green in about 20 seconds. And even in the fight with Diego Ferreira, I didn't really rate Grant Dawson too much. I mean, yeah, he took him down, but on the feet, he looked like a fish out of water, and he's been out since January of Grant Dawson too, and I feel like Manuel Torres is like a behemoth of this division. I think he's finished everybody he's ever fought. Very, very powerful dude. Dangerous not dangerous everywhere the fight goes, but especially dangerous stand-up. Massive for the division. We've seen him, get tested on the ground before. He fought Chris Duncan. He got the submission over Chris Duncan too, so I feel like Manuel Torres is just a little bit too dangerous for Grant Dawson, where Grant Dawson has to be perfect for 15 minutes. He has to grab the leg, take him down, keep him down, and then he's done. Whereas I feel like for Manuel Torres, he just needs to find that one big shot. We saw Bobby Green get the job done over Grant Dawson. I reckon Manuel Torres will as well. Clips him with a big shot, drops Grant Dawson, gets the job done. I can see Grant Dawson winning the first round, taking him down and controlling him, and then the second round, Manuel Torres lands a big shot, knocks him out, and goes for the ground and pound finish. But I feel like at some point in the fight, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's big for 155, powerful, finished everybody he's fought in the UFC and in MMA. So I think Manuel Torres will get it done. Very reckless guy, gets a lot of finishes, gets the TKO in the second round. I think, Manuel Torres gets the job done. I might even screw himself a slot on the Mexican card next year, because they've announced a Mexican fight night card. I think it's in February or March of next year. So, yeah, Manuel Torres, TKO in the second round. Then we've got Terrance Mckinney versus Chris Duncan, which you already have to sign the checks and send the bonus to these guys, because you already know what type of fight this is going to be. Insane matchmaking, and I'm glad they've done it on a pay-per-view as well. And this is what I said at the beginning of the card, where there's a lot of bangers who might not have a lot of star power, but you know it's going to be a sick fight, and this is one of them. Mckinney versus Duncan. The style of Terrance Mckinney, he will either be finished or get it finished in the first round. There's a lot of fighters in the UFC who I say is kill or be killed. Terrance Mckinney is that, literally the definition of that guy. He's never gone the distance, and he will either get finished or be finished in the first round every single time. He's single-handedly the most dangerous yet the most vulnerable fighter in the UFC. The best way you can describe his style is a car crash. He drives the car full speed. He's either going to run somebody over or he's going to crash. Either way, it's going to end in the first round, and I think that's why Terrance Mckinney is always like one of the biggest fan favourites at 155. Now, Chris Duncan, he's not high level on the feet, but he's insanely tough, and he just comes to scrap, which is why I'm looking forward to this fight. He comes to scrap, does Chris Duncan. He just had a fight of the year contender with Matejka and Betsky a couple of months back. He's more of a submission grappler. If anything, he wants to take the fight down and look for the submission, but he's an absolute dog. He can have a war. He can have a scrap. He makes fights fun. So yeah, Chris Duncan, Terrance Mckinney, you know it's going to be a banger. But I've got to go with T-Rex. I'm going to go with T-Rex back TKO in the first round. I think T-Rex is one of those dangerous dudes unranked at 155. And to be fair, he's won 4 of his last 5 fights. Like, he obviously got knocked out by Ribovics, which hasn't aged that badly. But he's looking good, man. He's Terrance Mckinney. He's not even beating bums either. But yeah, Mckinney, the guy's just very powerful on the feet. He's just in your face constantly. He seems to have really good accuracy as well. And he's actually transitioned to more of a grappler these days as well. Like, as if being dangerous on the feet weren't enough, he's actually transitioned to more of a grappler as well. And we're talking about Chris Duncan. We've seen Chris Duncan get chinned before by Borshev, a guy that Terrance Mckinney finished in the first round. And he got dropped by Betsky too. And I feel like you put him against a guy who's, high pace, in your face, and dangerous as Terrance Mckinney. I think Mckinney can find the chin of Chris Duncan, man. And again, the grappling of Chris Duncan seems to be the specialty. We've seen Terrance Mckinney turn into a grappler. In his last 2 fights, he's taken down Hadzovic and Borshev in about a minute and finished them both on the ground. And before that, he was just knocking people out. So everywhere the fight goes, McKinney's dangerous, man. And it's not that I don't trust Chris Duncan, because again, the guy's tough as nails, but we've seen his chin get tested before, like against Betsky and against what's his name, Borshev as well. He got submitted by Manuel Torres. We've seen Duncan get knocked out, and again, and also, same thing for Terrance Mckinney, we've seen him get knocked out too, but Chris Duncan's not really a KO type of guy on the feet, so I feel like they're both going to rush in the middle. Chris Duncan's going to be expecting like a 15-minute dogfight. McKinney's going to go out there to take his head off ASAP, and I feel like he's going to have a good job at doing it, so either way, it's ending in the first round. But I've got to go with T-Rex. He seems to have picked up a bit of momentum. He's a super dangerous dude. He's been active. I think his stand-up's a lot more dangerous and a lot better than Chris Duncan. And I feel like the fight's going to end before Chris Duncan has a chance to take the fight to the ground. But either way, if it's going to be a scrap across 15 minutes, I don't think it's going to be that, man. I think as dangerous as McKinney is, he's going to find the chin of Chris Duncan. TKO him in the first. I'm going to go Terrance Mckinney, T-Rex in the first round. But again, this is one of those fights where you know he's not going to make it past the first. I just think the style of Terrance Mckinney matches better against Chris Duncan. Like I said, Chris Duncan's a dog. But I don't think this is a case of you need durability. I think this is a case of you need to be prepared and you need to fucking evade T-Rex. I don't know if Chris Duncan can do that. I'm going to go Terrance McKinney. TK on the first round. Then we've got Farez Ziam versus Nazim Sadykhov. Arguably the two best guys unranked at 155 taking each other on. Now, the style of Farez Ziam, very well-rounded guy. He's a solid technical striker, and he's kind of improved his grappling recently. More of like a smother wrestling style. He'll hold you against the cage, try and take you down, damage you with ground and pound. And he has a very violent style. He doesn't have a ton of power, does Farez Ziam. Apart from that one brutal knockout he had of a Matt Frivola, he doesn't have a ton of power, but he's got a very violent style, does Farez Ziam. Now, Nazim Sadykhov, probably the best unranked striker at the lightweight division. Very snappy and dangerous guy on the feet. Never been outstruck in his entire UFC career. And he's just a very high-paced, violent style, does Nazim Sadykhov. And I think he's got a ton of potential for 155. I'm going to go with Nazim Sadykhov to get this one done by decision. As good as Farez Ziam has been on the run that he's been on, stylistically, this is not a great matchup for Farez Ziam, and I think Nazim Sadykhov gets it done. He's such a dangerous dude. We just saw him in a fight of the year contender against Nicholas Malta, where he got the job done, had a massive comeback victory, dropped and finished Nicholas Malta in the second round. He finished Ismail Bonfim. It was an injury, but it was an injury caused by him. Kicked him in the fucking head, cut him open. Got the job done there. Even on the ground, we've seen him submit the likes of Terrance McKinney. I just feel like Sadykhov, he's too dangerous everywhere the fight goes. He's high-paced, he's snappy, he's technical. Whereas I feel like Farez Ziam, he's got more of like a complacent approach. He's above average, but he's nothing crazy. I mean, Farez Ziam, he looked really good in the fight with Matt Frivola, but outside of the fight with Matt Frivola, has he really looked like a world beater? Like, he went to a very kind of boring decision with Jai Herbert and Figlak. He beat Mike Davis after a massive layoff, but he couldn't get the finish. I feel like Farez Ziam's kind of style is... He's a well-rounded style, but I don't know how I don't know, man. He's got a violent style. I just don't know how to explain it. He doesn't seem like a high-paced type of guy. Like, he's very comfortable at cruising to a decision. And he's kind of like holding people against the cage, throwing leg kicks, outpointing people. Apart from the fight with Matt Frivola, I've never really seen Farez Ziam as a world beater. Whereas Nazim Sadykhov, he's facing these guys like Mckinney, like Bonfim, like Mortar, and he's fucking running through them like a hot knife through butter. So I feel like Sadykhov, the high-paced style is going to be too much for Farez Ziam, and I think he takes him to a decision. He keeps the fight standing and just completely picks apart Farez Ziam on the feet. I think Farez Ziam will have success. You know, he's not a bad striker in himself. He's got the grappling too, but I've been bought on the hype of Sadykhov. He's got a ton of hype behind him. He's very dangerous dude. He's got some decent names. Probably the best guy unranked in this division. I think Nazim Sadykhov gets the job done, keeps the fight standing, picks apart Terrance McKinney, cruises to a decision, and gets the job done. And then we've got Maycee Barber versus Corrine Silva. Now, the style of Maycee Barber, she's a pretty good control wrestler with good technical wrestling. She has got more of a grappling style, good technical wrestling, good control wrestling. Overall, a good wrestler is Maycee Barber. She's pretty explosive as well for a woman MMA fighter. She's got decent power, good takedowns as well, quite explosive. But she's been very inactive. She was supposed to main event her first fight in 2025 this year against Erin Blackfield, and she pulled out because apparently she had a seizure backstage. She's been very inactive as Maycee Barber, which is why I worry. Now, Corrine Silva looked like a dangerous submission artist coming up. Some of the best BJJ at 125. A very dangerous submission artist, but she usually struggles against other wrestlers, and she does have a questionable gas tank, does Corrine Silva. I'm going to go with Maycee Barber to win this one by decision. I still feel like, controversy aside, Maycee Barber is still like a top 4, at least top 5 woman in the flyweight division. I mean, she's got really good grappling. We're starting the fight with Amanda Rivas, really good kind of grappling. Apparently has some power too, very explosive style, does Maycee Barber. And I just think the grappling and the wrestling is going to be too much for Corrine Silva, which we've seen be a problem for Corrine Silva before. We've seen her get out-grappled before. I mean, we saw in the fight with Araujo when she was a massive favourite. She looked like shit in the fight with Araujo. Her gas tank was pretty bad. She got out-wrestled by Araujo as well. As good as the submission game is for Corrine Silva, and she's been a lot more active, she's not really beating anybody good, whereas Maycee Barber got a couple of good wins, pretty much dominates most of her fights as well as Maycee Barber, so I think she gets the job done. Even in the most recent fight with Barboza, you can argue that Barboza should have got the win over Corrine Silva, so I think Maycee Barber gets the job done, takes her down, beats her with ground and pound, only gets better as the fight goes on, gets a pretty dominant 30-27 decision, and lands herself in a #1 contender fight. So, yeah, I feel like this will be kind of like a good comeback fight for Maycee Barber. Stylistically quite favourable. I don't really know if I rate Corrine Silva as a top contender. Maycee Barber should get the job done by decision. Then we've got the main card, Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira, potential eliminator. at 125. Now, Moreno's style, really talented boxer. I'd say apart from maybe Joshua Van, he's got the best boxing in this weight class. Some of the best combinations at 125. Really good hands, really good striker, really good accuracy. He's also got really good durability and stamina as well. We've seen this guy in countless 25-minute fights. Really good durability. The stamina is not an issue. And I actually think he's got underrated BJJ grappling. Apart from the fight with Pantoja, we've never really seen Moreno struggle too much on the ground. I mean, he submitted Dawson to Ferreira, who's had some of the best BJJ in modern flyweight history. He evaded all takedowns from Merab. He has got really underrated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, Tatsuro Taira is one off, if not the best submission artist at 125. I think apart from maybe Pantoja, he's probably got some of the best Jiu-Jitsu, this Japanese Jiu-Jitsu style. Really good submission artist. And he's also overall just got a really good fast-paced, fun style. He's in your face constantly, making it a scrap. And his striking's improved massively. I remember when he was just a prospect and people were calling him one-dimensional, saying he's got good BJJ, but he doesn't have to stand up. I think he's shown his stand-up in his last couple of fights. He knocked out Carlos Hernandez. He dropped and bullied Hyung Sung Park on the feet. He made it competitive with Brandon Royval. So he's kind of shaped up to be a very well-rounded guy. His Tatsuro Taira. But I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno by decision. This might be a bit of a bad take, but I think Moreno can pull this one off. I think stylistically, this just does seem like a fight that I can see Moreno winning. I mean, first of all, like I said, I think Moreno's got underrated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This guy isn't Hyung Sung Park or some can from 125. The guy's fucking submitted Dawson Figueiredo, survived with Pantoja on his back for at least 50 minutes of their title fight. And I do rate the takedown defense of the grappling of Brandon Moreno, so that's one thing. And he's got the experience going into this fight, and I think on the feet as well. Like I said, he's one of the best boxers. He outstruck Ersteg, he outstruck Pantoja. He's never really been outstruck in the UFC as Moreno, apart from that controversial second fight with Brandon Royval. And I think if this fight does stay standing, as good as Taira's striking has improved, I still think Moreno's a completely different level above. I think the boxing of Moreno is going to come into play. 15 minutes of Moreno, I think he outboxes Tatsuro Taira. I think it goes very similar to the Royval fight, but instead, I think it's going to be a lot more of a stand-up fight. I think Moreno's going to keep the fight standing, avoid much grappling from Tatsuro Taira, keep the fight standing and just outbox Tatsuro Taira. Like I said, as much as Tatsuro Taira's striking has improved, I don't know if it's improved to the point where I'm going to start picking him to beat Brandon Moreno, man. I think Moreno gets the job done, keeps the fight standing, beats him by decision. It seems like Moreno in this division can literally beat anybody apart from Pantoja. He's got a win over Royval, he's beat Barboza, he's beat Ersteg, he's beat Farez, he's beaten everybody apart from Pantoja. And I feel like, you know, Tatsuro Taira, I know he's just young, kind of new guy to the division, but I just think the fight's going to stay standing and Moreno picks him apart. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno by decision and potentially secures himself a fourth fight with Pantoja. So we'll have to see, but I'm going to go Moreno by decision. Then we've got Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. New guy in the division versus old guy. The style of Jan Blachowicz, he's a pretty heavy-handed kickboxer. He's got that Polish power. Historically had great low kicks as well. He nearly finished Ankalaev with those. And he's always been fairly well-rounded as Jan Blachowicz, but he's definitely past his prime. I mean, he's very well-rounded. He was able to implement that and get the win over Adesanya a couple of years back, but he's definitely past his prime. His last legit win was the Adesanya win back in 2021. And I feel like the issue with Jan Blachowicz is he often lacks output. He's a good kickboxer. He just doesn't throw enough. And Bogdan Guskov, powerful as fuck, hits like a truck and is carried by his punch power. He's probably got some of the hardest hitting punch power, raw punch power in this division. Apart from maybe Azamat Mirzakanov and Alex Pereira and maybe Yuri, I think Bogdan Guskov could hit the hardest. The weird thing about Bogdan Guskov is he does this thing where he'll usually lose his fight and then pull off a KO. Like in nearly every Bogdan Guskov fight, he'll lose, and then out of nowhere, he'll just pull off a massive KO win to secure the win. And he has got questionable grappling too. He got submitted by Volkan Oezdemir. He got taken down pretty easily by Billy Elakena. I don't know what the betting odds are, but I'm actually going to go with the former champion, Jan Blachowicz, to get the job done. I think Jan Blachowicz, I've always said I think Bogdan Guskov is a little bit overrated, and as much as the guy's got a bit of hype around him, I just don't see Bogdan Guskov as a top contender, man. And like I said, I think he's overrated. Like the fight with Billy Elakena, this was on short notice, and was supposed to be a free win for Bogdan Guskov. In that first round, he got dominated. He got his back taken within a minute by Billy Elakena, who was this, can come from the regional scene. The fight with Ryan Spann, he was getting taken down by Ryan Spann as well and controlled early on. The fight with Volkan Oezdemir, he got submitted by Volkan Oezdemir. I feel like there's a massive flaw in Bogdan Guskov's game, and now he's getting a massive step up against Jan Blachowicz, who obviously we've seen him take down the likes of Adesanya in the past as well, who was hyped up for his takedown offense. He's a very well-rounded guy, is Jan Blachowicz. I think on the feet as well. I mean, look at how many dangerous dudes we've seen Jan Blachowicz face. He's faced Ankalaev, he's faced Porton, he's faced Ulberg. He survived the full 25 minutes. Arguably beat Porton, arguably beat Ulberg as well. So as good as as washed as Jan Blachowicz may be, I'm not not convinced he's washed. I just think he's past his prime. And Bogdan Guskov, he's knocked out Nikita Krylov. He's getting a massive step up in competition. I feel like anywhere this fight goes, I do rate Jan Blachowicz. I think if he's smart, he can take down and control Bogdan Guskov with ease. Even if the fight stays standing, I rate the kickboxing more of Jan Blachowicz. He's a dangerous dude and he's got a good chin as well. So I think unless, again, Bogdan Guskov lands that massive fuck-off shot, knocks out Jan Blachowicz, I think the odds are going for Jan Blachowicz in this fight. I just think he's better than Bogdan Guskov. I'm sorry, I can't rate Bogdan Guskov. I want to give him credit because he's winning fights, but I just can't, man. Every time Bogdan Guskov fights, he does this thing where he'll lose and then pull off a win, and I feel like he's getting a big step up against Yan, a former champion. Jan's been making it competitive against all the guys at the top now, so I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz by decision. I think if he's smart, he can take the fight down and kind of expose the grappling of Bogdan Guskov, and even if the fight stays standing, I think he'll outstrike and outpoint Bogdan Guskov. So I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz. Gets the job done by decision. Polish power. Beats Uzbekistan's Bogdan Guskov. Then we've got one of the most bizarre fights the UFC have announced for 2025. Henry Cejudo, the former double champion, taking on, I guess, still a bit of a prospect in Peyton Talbot. The style of Cejudo, former Olympic wrestling gold medalist, known for great wrestling, but he hasn't shown it in years. Yeah, the wrestling has always been a standout for Cejudo. He's always historically been one of the best wrestlers in the bantamweight's history, but he's not really been able to display this basically since 2020. When he was in his prime. He's been out for so long now with Cejudo. He's definitely past his prime, but he has only struggled against the elite. Like, people like to bring up the fact that he's on a losing streak. To be fair, he's lost to Sterling, a champion, Merab the GOAT, and Song Yadong in a fight where he got eye poked, to be fair. So you've got to give credit to the fact that he's not been losing to bums. Peyton Talbot, crafty, unique striker who has elite timing on the feet. Historically, he does struggle with grappling, but he seems to be improving quickly. Yeah, he got dominated on the ground with Raoni Barcelos. Even on the Contender Series, we saw Peyton Talbot get taken down pretty easily, but he does seem to be improving quite quickly. So I'm going to take on Felipe Lima, who was like a bigger matchup than Raoni Barcelos, and he had a good takedown offense there. And he does like to emote and taunt. He's got decent celebrations. He likes to kind of, I remember that Cameron Simon fight where he was beating the shit out of Cameron Simon and just mocking him the entire fight. So he does like to do a bit of taunting, does Peyton Talbot. Such a bizarre fight, man. It's such a tough fight to pick. Half of me wants to say Cejudo, half of me wants to say Talbot. I've been going back and forth on this fight for so long. Because you've got Peyton Talbot, who faced Raoni Barcelos and got dominated with the wrestling, and now he's facing a former double Olympic champion in Cejudo. So it just seems too obvious for Cejudo to win, man. I don't know, this fight just seems like it should be too obvious for Cejudo, but I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot to win by decision. I can easily see this being a fight where I go with Peyton Talbot, Cejudo dominates Talbot across 15 minutes, then it's one of those scenarios where it's like, obviously Cejudo was going to win, but I feel like it's too obvious, man. I think Talbot gets the job done. And I say it's because he had rapid improvements between the fight with Barcelos and the fight with Felipe Lima. Like, the grappling and the takedown defense improvements had improved rapidly. And he arguably fought a tougher fight than Barcelos in Felipe Lima. And now he's got another 6 months to prepare for Cejudo. I know it's an astronomical step up in competition, but I want to see how much Peyton Talbot has improved since that fight with Felipe Lima. And I think the stand-up of Talbot, man, I can really see him picking apart Cejudo on the feet in this fight. He's got some of the most crafty stand-up. We saw him, you know, that he didn't struggle too much with the takedown offense, and he didn't have too much low output on the feet when he faced Felipe Lima with the takedown offense either. So I feel like now against Cejudo, man, it's a big if. But if Peyton Talbot can evade the wrestling, man, and I know that's a big if, and that's kind of the whole story of the fight, I can see him walking down and picking apart Cejudo in this fight, man. And Cejudo in his last three has looked awful. I don't want to say he got dominated, but he lost to Sterling. He got dominated by Merab. And even in the fight with Song Yadong, even though it was an eye poke, he looked awful in that fight with Song Yadong. He couldn't land a takedown, and he was getting picked apart on the feet. So the guy hasn't won a fight since 2020. He's taken on this dangerous prospect with crafty striking, who's coming off his best career when he gets Felipe Lima. He's been a lot more active. He's had a lot more success. He's probably got him a lot more, you know, if anything, Cejudo's only going to be getting worse and Peyton's only going to be getting better as well. So I can see Peyton winning this one. I think it is going to be a fairly competitive fight. Cejudo will definitely take down Peyton at some point in the fight, but I think it matters what happens when Peyton gets back up to the feet, and I can see Peyton have a lot of success on the feet, man. Walking forward, picking apart Cejudo, and I just think the striking of Peyton Talbot is miles better than Cejudo. He's never really had great striking in Cejudo. Like, I know he was knocking people out in his reign, but that was 5 years ago, and I don't know, man. I just feel like Cejudo nowadays, he's not really looked good in his last three fights. Like the Merab fight, he got dominated, fair enough. Same for Sterling. Song Yadong looked pretty shit in that fight. He was getting picked apart on the feet and he couldn't shoot it. He couldn't land a takedown. And I just think Peyton Talbot would have improved his grappling a lot. Since the fight with Felipe Lima, And I think the fight stays standing, and Peyton Talbot kind of walks him down and beats him on the feet. So I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot to win this one. It is such a tough fight to pick because I feel like either way, it's going to be one of those fights where whoever wins is going to be like, obviously a win. Like if Cejudo wins, it's going to be a whole narrative of obviously Cejudo was going to win. Talbot got out dominated by Barcelos. And if Talbot wins, it's going to be like, obviously Talbot won, Cejudo's washed, whatever. But I think the youth is going to take over. I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot, the youth, to get the job done and beat Cejudo. And talking of experience versus youth, Alejandro Pantoja versus Joshua Van. This is one of the most highly anticipated flyweight fights, I think, in the history of this division. I can't remember the last time I was this excited for Pantoja to fight, because it's not just another contender that's been around for a long time. It's not like Pantoja versus another contender part 2 or Pantoja versus another contender part 3. It's a fresh matchup for Pantoja, a guy who's only been in the UFC for just over a year, I think. So, finally got a fresh matchup for Pantoja. Now, the style of Pantoja, a high-paced, scrappy fighter everywhere. He's got a very scrappy style as Pantoja. Likes to charge in bursts, sprint at you and just starts throwing punches in bunches, throws punches in bursts on the feet. And he's got a great chin, super tough and durable as well as Pantoja. He's one of the few fighters in the UFC that look like they still want to win. Like you can tell with Pantoja, despite being a defending champion, he hasn't lost the hunger. And he's just an amazing grappler. Such dangerous BJJ. Probably got the best BJJ in this division. The second the fight gets to the ground and Pantoja's got the back, it's a wrap. Really good at grappling as Pantoja. Definitely the best in this division. Now, Joshua Van, best boxer at flyweight, in my opinion. He's got this high-paced volume boxing style, who picks people apart with his boxing. Really good defense. Kind of really got that good kind of style of hit and not get hit. Just picked apart Royval. I don't want to say picked apart because it wasn't like a dominant performance, but looked really good against Royval earlier on this year. And he has great gas tank as well. Great accuracy. He seems to have decent takedown defense, even though he's never really faced a grappler, especially not on the same level as Pantoja. In terms of who I'm picking to win, I can see this being like a Topuria versus Volkanovski situation. Not where, Van knocks him out in the first round, but where we've got the defending champion and Pantoja. And if there was a guy to beat Pantoja, I can see Joshua Van being that guy. This 25-year-old guy who's built a ton of hype and has got a shit ton of momentum surrounding his name, but it's a classic case of youth versus experience. Like, you've got the veteran in Pantoja, the new guy in the blocking Joshua Van, striker versus grappler. But I've got to go with the boy, Alejandro Pantoja, and I think he submits Joshua Van, man. And I say this because we've never seen Van against a great grappler in the UFC so far. I mean, we're talking about Pantoja, who has literally had this division in a chokehold. I mean, he's starting to get better as well. He started finishing his fights again, but he's had this division in his chokehold. He has cleared out this division. He's fought multiple different styles. Every style you can imagine, Pantoja has beaten. He's got the best grappling in this weight class. He's got some of the most dangerous grappling. He's fought guys with great takedown defense before with a ton of experience, and he's had no problem taking them down and getting the submission, and if not, just forcing him into a dogfight. And now he's taking on Joshua Van, and I know Joshua Van's got a lot of momentum, but look at his record, man. Apart from Royval, he's never really faced anybody good. He's never faced an elite grappler as well, and now you're giving him the final boss of grappling in Alejandro Pantoja. If you'd have asked me after the Steve Erceg fight, I probably would have said Joshua Van, because I think Joshua Van is like a better version of Steve Erceg, but especially after his last two, the fact that Pantoja seems to be getting better as well, and people are going to bring up the age of Pantoja. The age argument don't work, because he's only getting better with each performance. So, as good as Joshua Van is, he's gone from basically fighting cans to fighting Royval to fighting literally the final boss of the entire flyweight division. And I think Pantoja is going to get the job done. I think he will inevitably take down Joshua Van, and when he does, I just don't trust the BJJ of Joshua Van to hold up against Pantoja. And I think Pantoja, being as good and crafty as on the ground at a great gym, I reckon he's going to pull off a submission of a Joshua Van, get 3 submissions in a row. I'm going to go with Pantoja by submission. And I've been hearing things coming out with Joshua Van as well, like he doesn't have a game plan coming into this fight, and he doesn't study Pantoja. Like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't study Pantoja. Probably the guy with the most tape in this entire division, you ain't studying him. So, as good as Joshua Van is, and if he can keep this fight standing, Pantoja's in a world of hurt, because Pantoja does have this kind of style where he's very vulnerable on the feet. He's got pretty bad defense. He kind of engaged in a dogfight on the feet, and now you're taking on Joshua Van, the best pure striker in this division. But I feel like this is quite a big step up too soon for Joshua Van. Like 2 years ago, he wasn't even in the UFC, and now he's facing the final boss at 125. As good as Van is, I've got to go with Pantoja. We've seen it numerous occasions where people count Pantoja out and he pulls through. I think he's going to get the job done. I'm going to go with Pantoja, and still once again, and I think he gets the finish by submission of a Joshua Van. And then we've got the main event, the rematch. Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan number 2, the rematch since, I think, March of 2020, what is it, 4 or 3? March of 2023. Now for the belt. Now, Merab style, he has the greatest cardio in UFC history, without debate. I don't want to hear Cain Velasquez. I don't want to hear any other guys, the best cardio in the UFC, it belongs to Merab. He has some freakish, he has a third lung, like he's got some freakish kind of cardio, does Merab. Same kind of high-paced style from round 1 to round 5. He will spam takedowns for 25 minutes, slowly breaking his opponents down, and there's nothing they can do. Even against elite wrestlers like Umar Nurmagomedov, it's just the same thing across 25 minutes. Takedown after takedown after takedown, same pace in round 1 as it is in round 5, no slowing down, and he's evolving as well. He submitted O'Malley, and he nearly TKO'd Sandig, and the scary thing about Merab is as if he wasn't good enough before, he seems to be evolving. Now, Petr Yan is a calm, calculated boxer. He will study you in the first round and then get to work. He just reads you early on and he will just bully you with his boxing. He's probably got the best boxing in this weight class, rips the combinations, and I think he's got a really underrated wrestling game. Like, outside of the Merab fight, when has Petr Yan ever had bad wrestling? He took down Marcus McGee, he out-wrestled Davison Figueiredo, he wrestle-fucked Song Yudong, he took down Sean O'Malley. Like, apart from the Merab fight, Yan, I think, has really underrated wrestling. I think he's one of the most well-rounded guys in this division, and he's not a dangerous guy, he's Petr Yan. He's not really a KO artist type of guy, but he's just extremely skilled. I think Petr Yan is one of the best cases to say that he's one of the most skilled fighters in MMA right now. And Petr Yan has improved rapidly, like a lot, since the fight with Merab the first time around. But I've got to go with Merab. I cannot go with Pete. I've got to go with Merab. The way that Merab is, the former years and in his career, and based off the first fight, I have to go with Merab. Like I said, we've seen this fight before, and I argue it was one of Merab's most dominant performances. It was literally 50-45 across the board. You can't get more dominant than that for Merab. He was just spamming takedowns over Petr Yan, beating the shit out of him, dominated him with the wrestling. He looked levels above Petr Yan in that fight, and people are going to talk about how Petr Yan has improved and whatever, but it was just a dominant performance from Merab, and I think it's only going to be more dominant this time around. And again, people are going to talk about how Yan has improved, his takedown defense, his wrestling has improved whatsoever. And that's right, we've seen a wrestling improvement in Petr Yan, but so is Merab. Merab's improved as well. This guy nearly TKO'd a striker in Corey Sandig, and he got the submission win over Sean O'Malley as well. Merab's improving too, and he's arguably doing it at a higher rate and a better rate than Petr Yan, so I'm going to go with Merab by decision. Based off the first fight, I think Merab has to do that again. I mean, he's only getting better. I assume he would dominate Petr Yan again. And even if we hadn't seen the first fight and this was a fresh matchup, I'd probably be looking at this as like a more stylistically difficult fight for Merab, but I don't really take styles into account with Merab. We've seen every bad style against Merab. We've seen a Dagestani undefeated wrestler in Umar Nurmagomedov. He ticks the box. We've seen him against a dangerous sniper on the feet in Sean O'Malley. He ticks the box. We've seen him against a crafty, tall, lanky, well-rounded guy in Corey Sandhagen. Takes the box. Jose Aldo, great tactic, takedown defense, ticks the box. Wrestler in Cejudo ticks the box. He's ticked every fucking box you can tick. And now he's taking on a guy that he's dominated before in Petr Yan. Even if Petr Yan looks better than he did the first time around, I think Merab has improved since their first fight more than Yan has. I'm going to go with Merab. I think he's definitely the greatest bantamweight of all time. He's in his prime. He's only getting better. He's had 4 fights this year, 4 defenses in a single year. And if there's a guy to stop Merab, as good as Petr Yan is, I don't see it being him. And we've seen this fight before, and it was a dominant win to Merab. So I've got to go with Merab. Gets the job done, continues to take down Petr Yan round after round. I think we'll see a lot of improvements in Merab's stand-up as well. I can see this being one of those fights where in the first round, we see Merab outstrike Petr Yan, because Petr Yan's a very slow starter. He starts off very slow. You cannot afford to take rounds off against Merab, who's got the same pace round 1 as his round 5, and he's always up on the scorecard. So, yeah, I think Merab dominates him, gets the decision win, and still, Merab gets 4 defenses in a single year. But those are my picks for UFC 323, the final pay-per-view ever. Let me know your thoughts on the card. Let me know your thoughts on the picks, your own personal predictions. Just let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching.